can hear me a little bit better. And I'm going to try to not shout, or my voice would appreciate it after this weekend. But it is 3:30, and we'll go ahead and move. I don't know which one this is. Is it that one? That sounds great. Woo! All right. We'll do a little more trickling, and I'm gonna catch up on Slack because
it's a mess.
It's a mess. I haven't paid attention in a second. Not because I don't care, but because
busy.
I was busy not caring.
Important business.
Yeah. I was up to important business, finally having my shower today. Yeah, exactly.
That child just moved.
Yeah. That's fine.
That's amazing.
All right.
That's a highlight of my life.
So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Closing Ceremonies. You guys made it. We did it. We did a MAGWest. How many of you were here at opening ceremonies? Just okay, so we can carry some of the jokes around. So we'll have to write all new ones. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind of a weekend. This is an opportunity to share some deets about the event, as well as have some feedback, some nice, genuine, honest, constructive feedback from you guys. We'll be asking you what you loved, what you hated, or rather, what you didn't love, right? You did
keep it positive.
Yeah.
Ish.
And we'll kind of just go from there. For now, and I was going to log in and tell you, but I forgot because I have a very small attention span. But I was going to announce the full attendance, which I'm stalling and trying to sign into my account to tell you.
I'm pretty sure I can make an educated guess. I was down there when we closed.
I got it. Oh, so close. Okay, that's fine. So this year at MAGWest, we had a total attendance of 1,308 people checked in, which is a very solid year. If you were here in 2022, we basically had
880.
Yes. So a remarkable improvement since 2022. We are back to essentially 2019, so pre-COVID numbers, which is great. And that's kind of similar to a lot of other events. I don't know if you guys go to a lot of other events, but like most other events also had, a dip in attendance the first year coming back from COVID, and then second year coming back from COVID. It's back to normal. So we are back to normal, which is great. It is very energizing to me, working tirelessly throughout the year to hope that we do well.
I think one of the coolest things is that we hit last year's numbers on Friday.
Yeah.
So
on Friday night, 880 people had checked in, which was the entire attendance of 2022. So that's astounding. It was very shocking, and it was very exciting. It was holy, I should have known this.
Yeah.
But I was very impressed, and that's in no part, obviously, thanks to all of you. Thanks to all of our staffers for being energetic and spreading the word. Yesterday, I don't know if you saw them coming around, NBC had a news crew on site. Basically, they found, I guess the story goes is that either the anchorman himself or some cameramen.
No, it was the anchorman, because I was at registration when he came up. He was at a restaurant a mile down the street and saw cosplayers and other people and followed them here to figure out what it was.
And so then he did a segment, and it was on the 11 o'clock news last night.
It's on their website, too.
Yeah, it's on the website, too, which is very exciting. It's very rarely, even with Super MAGFest, Super MAGFest is 26,000 people, and it's twice they've been on the local news?
The last time I remember, it was when Nick was executive director.
Yeah. So last year there was a news segment done, but it was a small boy who had a local show on PBS who was like really into it, and like it was great to interact with him, and like I helped give some of that interview. But for an anchorman to like just stumble upon us like that is very exciting and very thrilling. So yeah, it's great. This has been a really rewarding year for us as staff, and I hope it has been also for you guys as attendees. The man of the hour, Gene himself, back there, Gene Grayban.
You can see him on the news.
He is the one who helped to give the interview on the news, and he's also, if you don't know, and if you haven't seen him around, one of the co-div heads for the music department, the music division. So all of the stages and sound and everything that you're hearing, with the exception of my voice, is Gene. So, and Gabe, but 50% Gene. And so, amazing. Also, most of you probably, if you ever went to any of our promo events prior to this, and that's how you found out about us, that was Gene running all of those as well. So if you went to flea market, if you went to, I was gonna say Sofa Street Fair, but I didn't want to get it wrong. Sofa Street Fair or Garden at the Flea or which you already said, right? Guild House. Sorry, a million things. Yeah, but that was all 100%. Gene also did like a radio interview. And a bunch of stuff. So like, super props to Gene for getting the word out. Like, it's so amazing. It's amazing. Do you want to sit up here? Okay. Okay. Well, bye, Gene.
Bye, Gene.
But yeah. So yeah, it's been great. It's been an amazing time. I mean, I guess I can talk about it. Just so you're all aware of what a great crew that we have, or great attendee base that we have. We had no major security incidents. I have this radio around, and like, it went off a couple times of people asking if I wanted food. So like, if that's the emergency, that's pretty good. So next year, no radios, I guess. How do you get food? No food next year either. But yeah, I think that's about all I wanted to share. I mean, you know, if you guys were in concerts last night, you saw the hall was pretty packed a lot of the time. A lot of great attendance in the panel sections. LAN and tabletop both got some love this year, more love than last year, being tucked away. It's all been really great. So many tournaments going on. Did anyone participate in any of the tournaments? Did you guys win? Oh.
You got endpoints.
Well, great. Yeah, that's been really cool too, to watch all these tournaments come up. We definitely did more than any other year prior, and something that we want to keep doing, especially the arcade tournaments, which like we always kind of, when we think of tournaments, a lot of time we like think console tournaments, right? Smash Bros, right? All this other stuff. But we showed our arcade cabs some love as well, and that was really nice. But great. From there, I guess we'll open it up. One of these mics doesn't need to be on a stand, but that's fine. You can just shout at us maybe, or if you want to come up and take a mic. I don't know what we're gonna do.
Wait, did you want to give an update about the bounty on your badge?
Oh.
If you were here
God.
during opening ceremonies, Deb, our executive director, put a bounty on Ben's badge if you could manage to steal it without his knowing. And
literally right after the panel, someone tried as I was dangling down as I was bending over. So I quickly taped it up. Then I let some other staffers into my room while I made them a drink. And I turned my back for one. I had to go get ice, so I left them unattended in my room, and I came back to find my badge had been stolen. And I still gave them drinks because I didn't know. I felt so betrayed.
They replaced their badge with his.
Yeah, they didn't take my lanyard that had a bunch of painter's tape all over it to know it was secure. They just undid part of the painter's tape and put their badge on. So I was like, oh, I still have my lanyard. It's fine. It was a rough moment.
And then that person traded the badge to someone else, who traded the badge to someone else.
Yeah.
At one point, I had it, but now I'm this is not my badge.
Yeah.
Like,
all of the staff had a round of musical badges, and there's some photographs of my badge all around the hotel, teasing me.
Oh, it went to the
find
casino
it.
too.
It did go to Casino Matrix, so it did a whole world tour, and I got it back. is the point.
Which is better than me.
With a nice sticker that says, "Take me home, I'm delicious." So that's good. I added this one on the back that says ham butt, because I thought that was a good sticker. Ham butt, exactly. But, so technically, staff gets to claim the bounty on my badge, but also they get free badges anyway, so I guess better luck next year. Wait, no, I don't want to play this game next year.
Yeah.
Not a
Better luck next
a
year.
different game next year, not involving my badge. No. I'll get better lanyards to, and I'll like attach.
You get a
tile.
locking lanyard.
I'll attach a tile thing to my lanyard or to my badge to find it. Anyway, thank you for reminding me about that.
You're welcome.
So great. So we'll get started with opening it up to the floor. We'll start with just kind of what did you really enjoy about this event? I guess show of hands again, just so I get an idea. How many of you here, this was your first MAGWest? Okay, so wow, a large number of you. Great, fantastic. That's all I wanted to know, just so I know, like, are these people who are going to tell me things I already know, or is this new stuff? Great, this is fantastic. If anyone wants to, maybe raise your hand, I guess. We'll do that. You in the back. Oh God, 1 second.
That's the person that stole your badge.
It is. Yes, tell me.
It was yesterday at 6:30. It was like an interactive video game.
Uh-huh. The concert, yeah?
Yeah, that was really awesome. I just
Yeah.
remember the name.
Extra Lives Experience.
That was really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they are an amazing act, and we've had them at Super before, I believe.
Yeah.
And they're really fun. Thank you. Sorry, I just write down these notes so I can take things.
The only thing I would say is it was hard. I couldn't figure out how to do it. It was like a big QR code, but my phone would like get it. I could do all the heads and
Yeah.
other stuff.
Okay.
If it was easier to get onto it,
Okay, great. I will pass that on to them. Thank you. Anyone else got something fun to share? Does she have some? You in the back.
Earlier when we were talking to all of us, my mom actually told me. Oops, come back.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Anyone have any positive experience they want to share? Sure.
I have positive feedback, and I also have something else to mention. Start with good things first.
Sure.
I spent a lot of time in the console room, and it was really surprising to find that the convention had no internet access. So even though there was a Splatfest thing going on with cables and stuff, nobody could actually play Splatfest. But what was really cool was that a LAN was set up on the end of Friday, so that we were doing a tournament in the LAN.
Mhm.
Kind of helping some of the staff set that up, because I just walked in and just was playing some casual Switch games, and they're like, "Hey, are you playing Switch soon? Can you help me test this out?"
Mhm.
And then somehow I ended up interrupting to the tournament. That was really fun. Just seeing everybody just work around the situation, and they were even playing some platoon music in the back of the room, because none of the monitors had speakers.
Okay.
So I thought that was really good improvising there.
Mhm.
The tournament was really fun. And the critical feedback I have to give is the marketplace. I believe that the space is too small
Mhm.
to have vendors having more than one or two tables.
Mhm.
Because this is my second time signing up for the marketplace, and I did get rejected.
Mhm.
So the first time I got rejected was in 2019.
Mhm.
Only half the room was filled up, but I was still not able to get a table.
Mhm.
Because a whole half a room of other tables. Now, I get rejected again, and half the room is given to one vendor.
Mhm.
And I think that's very unfair. Like, you shouldn't have that kind of thing in such a small space like that, because a lot of people have, a large variety of vendors in that small space.
Mhm.
That you have to You know, instead of checking it for like 3 doubles, it's like, oh, and then there's just both extra space there.
Sure.
So I just feel like it just needs to be worked on a little bit more.
Okay. Thanks. I'll say, you know, marketplace applications, when they open, we get probably about, I don't know, I think this year we had over 100 applications. There's about 25 tables in there, so it's a pretty low acceptance rate regardless. We also do try to have a lot of diversity in the things that we choose.
I was gonna say, I do know that one of the double tables, because I was working Reg and he had to pay, was a guy who had purchased one table, but we had a no-show.
Yeah.
So he agreed to purchase the second table to fill it for
and
us.
A big problem in 2019 with Marketplace was that we had a lot of people drop out last minute, and we did not have a solid wait list of people who were like, you know, who are local and can actually come out same day, because for a lot of people that's just not feasible. So this year in advance, I think they built a wait list of maybe like 5 or 6 tables. Yeah, and so.
And those tables gave it to one of the existing vendors, like, well, I don't know, what is that?
Sure. I don't know the exact details, but you know, I'll pass that along to the team. But yeah, that just to fill you in on, you know, some of the things that we do behind the scenes. But thank you for the feedback. Mr. Holman, tell me.
This is my second year, and I think it's like, now I'm experiencing from a different side. When I came in the first year, when I worked with volunteering side, I think it's getting positive that as staff, I feel a lot more inclusivity being able to help them around. Like, I got to meet a lot of good people, a lot of opportunities, like dying to carry on super, things like that. I'm definitely not looking at that. It's going to be more on the culture and the type of team that you all provide. By the staff that everyone is connected. I think it's an amazing thing. It's a service and it's something that we love to do, and I'm definitely feeling it. I feel like it's a big positive opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you for talking to him about that.
Yeah, he's gonna come volunteer in the arcade.
Excellent. Thank you. If you were here during opening ceremonies, I did gush a lot about staffing and the staff and community that we have. And, you know, this is, our staff here on the West Coast is like 10% of the staff that the East Coast gets, and there's just so many people, and so many of them are just so talented. It's insane, and they're all really great. You will have an amazing time at Super. It's what this, you know, here on the West Coast we hope to be one day as we continue to get going. And that starts, you know, from the ground up with volunteers like yourselves and staffers that dedicate themselves to really making this a positive experience, not just for, you know, each other as staffers, but also for the attendees. One of those core values we were talking about, sincerity, I think it is, talks about kind of building the event that you want to see and being true about, you know, what it is you're providing and things like that. And that's something that we do try for really hard, and like not just necessarily going to, you know, what's going to get mass appeal or anything like that, just something that we as attendees feel that benefits the community, and that can offer the most for everyone.
Yeah, another core value is experimentation. So is like, if there was something that you thought would work well here or you didn't see here and you wish was here, you could probably have it here. You just need to let us know if you're willing to run it. If there's something that you've always thought should be at a convention, but there's never been a convention that wanted to do it, we'll probably do it.
Yeah, and you know, it gets tough with the venue being the size that it is. Obviously, Marketplace being a great example, it's smaller than we'd want it to be, right? Like, if you've been to other events like Anime and everything like that, they have huge areas for Artist Alley, and then a separate one for Marketplace, and then a separate one for other things. Like, we have that tiny room, and it is something that obviously, like, we want to expand on. But given the space that we have, and given that we're predominantly a music and gaming festival, we want to dedicate a lot of that room to that. That's not to say that we don't try to do other things, like dedicating, you know, space downstairs for drawing and art occasionally, or trying to put up jam pods in the hallway and everything like that. We want to try and make use of the space the best that we can, but obviously in this particular venue, which we'll see where if we're here next year or not. My bet would be like 70% chance we'll probably be here again. But you know, if we ever move to a venue with more space, obviously that opens the door to do more things. Variety stage here has always been something we've tried to get off the ground to experiment with different types of things. When it was Charity Stream last year, well in 2019, it was Charity Stream for only part of the day, and then we tried to do other things during the rest of the day. Then last year was full on Charity Stream. This year we kind of had a return to form of let's try and just get some more variety and different types of things like Curtis's game show, Curtis, and other live music here and other talk panels here. So yeah, it's always something that we want to expand on. I forget what the original question thing was. I just got lost in
No,
myself.
it wasn't really a question. He was
Great.
just talking about how he loved the community and staffing.
Great. Sorry, before I get to you, let's hear from her back there one more time.
What I liked about the game convention is I didn't know much more about skating with a frog.
Okay.
I didn't much know that a frog could skate really much, but actually that's weird. Probably it would. But sometimes on dance floors, it's really fun.
Okay.
Because on like sometimes it's really hard for me to dance on the floor without shoes. But also the grown up dance after it's really fast and dance.
Well, I hope that you
The
had fun
grown up
dancing.
one, really hard. But the kid one is a little bit more easier because it's how to play.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
I have
you.
one more thing to say.
Okay.
And I never known that the fan convention has candy. And
Oh.
probably I was eating Kit Kats I was eating Kit Kats the whole time I've been playing the frog skating game. And I took like more. Since that I love candy. It's really sweet.
Candy is.
But my dad told me it's actually poison. Because how sweet it is how poison it is.
All right. Thank you for that feedback. You can go ahead. Okay. Okay, great. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. That's great. Yeah. One of the things we tried to do with Indies this year was to extend the hours of it so that we could get more community interaction. I think we really benefited from just so many people coming out in general, obviously, but it definitely extending those hours and pushing those boundaries. Both Indies and the maid that was with them definitely saw an uptick in interaction, which is great. I'm very happy about that. Thank you. Yes, tell me.
So this is my first time at MAGWest. I actually have heard about MAGWest and I really like it.
Okay.
So, I'm not a musician.
Mhm.
I am kind of like I do like games. I wanted
Mhm.
to say that for conventions, I've been to and I like how cozy it feels. Like,
Mhm.
I'm the type of person where it's too big.
Mm-hmm. Like Anime Expo.
I'm not saying like there's a dessert.
No.
No, he was-
No, Anime Expo had some
Issues.
capacity issues, we'll call them. Sorry.
I like how, just like logistically, even though I like that there's AC here and
Mhm.
you're seating.
Yeah.
It felt lively and not
Overwhelming.
overwhelming.
Mhm.
Like I felt like I could see people kind of stay and
Yeah.
maybe I might not necessarily like, I don't know if I can talk about it. Okay, I've never seen you this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's felt very cozy. The vibe of the idea that you chose capacity, I thought it worked well for someone like me.
Mhm.
I imagine like having that procedure and get all like comfortable for people who are still
Yeah, definitely.
cautious about
Mhm. Yeah. Our COVID policy, it may seem comparatively behind the times compared to a lot of other things going on in the world in general. But we had done surveys, both to previous attendees and staff, and everyone pretty much felt comfortable that like masking, at least at this stage, still felt like a very viable option to keep people safe. Especially even just from like normal con crud, like just getting sick in general after an event is very common because you are maybe not sleeping as much as you should and taking care of yourself. And then, maybe you go to some parties and share some drinks and then all these little droplets everywhere. I think that, should we ever choose to get rid of a masking mandate, I think that, like, me personally, I'd probably still wear a mask anyway because it protects me so much. Like, I think there are a lot of great benefits. I also think that, thank you for talking about how cozy it is. I hope the AC kept up with the heat wave. Like, it definitely was struggling at some points or in some areas, but I am grateful for what it did at the very least. And both in 2019 and this year, we happened to be on a heat wave weekend, which you can never plan for. In 2022, we weren't, and it was like ideal weather. So hopefully in 2024, wherever we are, 2024, I can do time. God, I hope we're not having a heat wave. It's great to be out in the pool and everything, but like when you're doing load in and pushing heavy things and it's real hot outside, it's not the best experience. But thank you for your feedback. I appreciate it. Yes, sir. Mhm. Sorry. Sorry. Josiah? Could you maybe like kind of close one of those Jam Space doors? Thank you. Sorry, they just
Down
kicked
there
up.
and like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love the music, not at all times. Note for next year. Yeah. Mhm. Okay, thank you. Yeah, one of the things. What was I going to say? One of the things that we do when we schedule is always, we don't want to cannibalize our own audience, right? And while we know that like one big act might not be what everyone wants to see, at least we can do like one big act and one big other event, right? Then people have a little bit of an option, right? And they can do also, obviously, like all the other 24-hour stuff that we have, they can always pick from that. But as in terms of like actual really big, what's the right word? Things that we make a big deal about, I guess those we tried to space out and make sure that everyone had a chance to attend and also have time for the things that they wanted to do. Scheduling is really hard, if you didn't know. And it is a lot of moving wheels, moving pieces to kind of like determine the best way that we can have attendees flow. And we never know if it's going to work out. But I'm glad you had a positive experience. I was going to ask you right down here in front, Miss, how did you hear about us?
I have a local friend group in my area
Mm-hmm.
that, just like a friend coming to this.
Okay,
Talking about it.
great.
Sounds fun. He's I haven't like anime.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you. And then how did you hear about us? Okay, you're with the game review. Okay, great. That's fine. I like to know. Okay, so I'm really loud now. That's fine. That's enough about the positive things. Now you can yell at me, but yell at me nicely. I know we already got some yelling going on. What are some things that,
We could do better.
we could do better or you want to see more of, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be like, I hated this, blah, 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 blah. But like, it's like, I liked indie games, I want to see more of them, I wish we could do this type of thing. Like, let me go with that. Yes, sir, Mr. Scott.
What happened with the major delays in concerts?
Yeah, sure. I know that Main Stage had some delays on Friday, basically due to sound checks taking too long. We didn't anticipate that some acts would have more particular needs than other acts while we were going through sound checks. We do our best in those situations to kind of get back on track, which on Friday was, moving the Rap Nerd set to later so that Super Soul Bros and SSJ weren't offset as much. But, by the end, yeah, we were about an hour over. And, it's live events are hard, as it turns out. But, I think on Saturday, we recognized what happened and we tried to do a bit better and keep them to a bit better of a schedule when we were doing sound checks and everything like that. And I believe on Saturday, we were over by only half an hour. Does that sound right? Would you know? Anyway. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely, we had a larger delay. Depending on when the delay happens, right, we make up time for it slowly. So by the end of the night, we were only an hour or half an hour over on Saturday. So we did make up the time, but it's less than that. So we, as everything gets better, and then the one act we had today was basically on time. So, yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was really difficult also because after we have to change the act times, we did do it once. We did go through and update, based on the new schedule of starting an hour and a half late, how we could rearrange things and get things back going. But it's really difficult to say, when you tell a band they have like a hard stop at this time and then they go over. And it's like, but we told you. And it's, it's definitely difficult. And I know that our music division team, a music division basically, was very aware of trying to keep things up to date on sketch, so that everyone could know when to come back if they were waiting for a specific act. I don't know if they did any revisions past the first initial one on Friday. I think they felt that, it was more or less up to date and at least within the 15 to 30 minutes of a start time of band is pretty good when you're doing it live and on the fly. So they do their best, and it's tough.
Something else to be aware of
Mhm.
that an hour feels like a long time to you guys, but I want to make sure that it's like really clear that the team running music was fairly short-handed this year, and for them to only be an hour behind on Friday night was like they kicked some major ass. So
Yeah, on Friday
really
morning.
good job.
Yeah, the team worked, tired. We were very understaffed on Thursday night for main stage setup, and on Friday morning we realized that the layout that we were going with would not work. It would severely impact capacity. It was kind of a little bit of a safety hazard. So we basically had to, at like 10 a.m., strike half the set of the lighting and truss and everything, and reconfigure it and rebuild it. That was tough, but we had a small army on Friday morning that we were able to do essentially what was like 5 hours worth of work the previous day and cut it down into like less than 2 hours on Friday morning. So a lot of things were working against us, but it gets difficult, and they work hard, and I apologize obviously that that we had those delays, but hopefully you still got to see the act that you wanted, and hopefully they delivered a great performance. So thank you. Yes.
So I guess I'll give a couple of things in perspective, like on the staff side of it, how would I do these accounts? I know it's like me and Jonathan have said it for consoles. A good example was some of the television and some of it. Maybe it seems like we try to change up how we find donations and do that more. Have the 3 inputs, have our coaxers, like more sure to work.
Mhm.
We had like maybe like 15% of like our monitors had not worked out. Out of the teams who are taking out, about 5 or 6 are
Mm-hmm.
and another 3 were just pure ops. Yeah.
Okay.
Which did make it rough, and obviously like all our hotel issues, like sometimes no power issue and whatnot. Hey, here's what we have to setting up the power in the station is very constrained. Our station, we're trying to set up the console, so a lot of conduit.
Mhm.
Some of it's maybe the process of a more manual, easy to plug up, especially since the old CRTs have monitors, it's a little bit harder to get hooked into place versus the more modern ones. It's usually a little too easy to look at.
Sure. Yeah.
So if you have CRTs that you'd like to get rid of, the consoles department will take them.
A lot of these TVs are used at a few different events throughout the year, and they are hauled out of storage and put on a loading truck or a van and pulled into the next event and just thrown on tables. They take quite a bit of a beating. I'm sure if you've noticed some of the front panels and chassis of the televisions, they've seen better days. But we're also working with the technology that existed at the time for the most authentic experience in consoles, which always a challenge, which is sort of the nature of it. And as it turns out, they don't make new CRTs, or if they do, they're expensive. So that's not really an option to get something super new. I think always what's an issue, especially in consoles, is not having an accurate inventory. Or not knowing which TVs work or not, or consoles work or not. And I know that like on Thursday, a lot of the time was spent testing and going through testing of seeing which TVs were good versus bad. I left a note on one of those TVs about it having a bad coax, and you didn't believe me.
But they still tested it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's probably good though.
Yeah.
Like it's healthy. It's like shedding some weight. So, yeah,
Heat advisory.
Yeah. So it's I know we did get or some people have approached us about some donations this year. I think we got maybe 2 TVs donations this year. But we try to throw out the old gear responsibly, and try to bring in new, more preserved gear. But you know, as we bring them out for probably like 3 or 4 different events every year in the area, because we partner with other local ones. Like we are at Anime, and we provide a lot of the retro consoles and retro setups. So we bring all of our CRTs, or a portion of our CRTs, out there, and they're heavy, so they maybe sometimes don't get the necessary love that they need. And yeah, that can definitely lead to some slow setup times and everything. Sure.
Just for me now, looking at convention going, I would really like potentially maybe down the line at the section. I know sometimes a lot of that indie developers either rotate out or leave early or whatnot. And I suppose that's like QR code, or they run out of business cards, or they run out of support contract. There's a list that actually showcases live like who was there, what is their new solutions. Does that be something like for me, like I would love to.
Definitely. As it turns out, I also manage the website, and I never had the time this year, and I apologize, to get the compiled list of everyone that was actually attending. I was focused more on like getting everyone's badges created and things like that. So I can definitely follow up at the end of the event, because this is something we did in 2019 and in 2020 when we had our digital, and 2021 when we had digital events. And I don't know if we did in 2022 actually. But the people that we choose, we do like to at least put the name of the game and the public and the team behind it, the dev team behind it, the studio, that's the word, and the studio, at least on our website so people know. I will make it a point, I promise you, to get this year's on the website after the event at some point. Well, no, at some point, that's just like a wishy-washy thing. You have my word, by the end of the month, they will be on the website. Hi. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. When we take in applications, it all goes to a master list, and then I think the bigger issue is that the team worked on a different list than the master list, so I'm not sure which on the master list was actually present. I just know that we had a master list, and some subset of those appeared at the event. So I just need to follow up with the Indies team to see which ones were here, and then we'll get that up. Thank you for bringing that up and for calling attention to my shame. Tell me.
This year my second year here at MAGWest. I'm also supposed this year, believe it or not. One of the things I noticed with consoles is the lack of proper storage and sorting for the games. It was a little bit frustrating because we were in the middle of envelopes. They were wedged in pretty badly. And we solved it a little bit by pulling the envelope, but a better sort.
Sure. I encourage you tonight during loadout, if you're around, to work with Cheeto on that. And we can talk more on Slack and everything about that. On the East Coast, we store everything in the similar system. And rather than having one filing cabinet where we have to jam everything in, they have multiple filing cabinets, like six filing cabinets that they can divvy everything into. We are limited by the amount of storage space we have. We have a 10 by 20 storage unit that we fit everything that we own into, which CRTs take up like 50% of that space. And then we have, a very large tote of just power strips, and then like 2 of them filled with just extension cables. And so then you look at everything else at the event, and there's just a lot of stuff. And I think you went to the storage unit, right? Or did you not? No, okay. Okay. So, it can be tough. I think we are always looking at new ways of storing those long term. One thing that I'd like to see that like I haven't thought through, you know, ideally in my head, the way that storage works is that it is dual purpose. Not only does it store things, but it also acts as basically an inventory / registry. So we know that if something is missing, we can put it back in, right? I mean, you can make a suggestion to Cheeto. I shouldn't say I have no control, but I should say that Cheeto as gaming div head should be the one to consult about those types of things. But I do appreciate trying to solve the problem. I think that's important. I'm gonna go you in the back.
Yeah, so with an event that features a pool party, was there any thoughts of selling MAGWest swimwear?
I will mention that to Elijah.
Yeah.
I'm about to go to merch right after this to break it down.
Every year at merch we try and think of new ideas, and every year
beach towels.
Yeah, last year we had beach towels. This year I think we went for the sunglasses and the hydration packs to be on brand for Splatoon. And little Splatoon guys wearing little ink things on their back. It's a metaphor. So we definitely try to get things that are both thematic and practical. So as we continue to do pool parties and everything, that is a very excellent idea, and we'll look into it. Thank you. Do we have any other comments? Does anyone want? Oh, back in two of them. You first.
I was wondering, because the con sometimes has trouble getting volunteers because the hour requirement is 24 hours. Mm-hmm. And I know it's like 24 hours because on the East Coast it's like 4 days, 5, like set and everything. Is there consideration making that a little lower for here with less days?
There's actually levels to it. So 24 hours is if the next year you want to be staff. But at 16 is, I believe, when is it?
Staff?
It's 8, 16, 24.
And then 30.
Yeah. So, like, you get different things at different levels, like badge reimbursement and stuff like that. So, I hear you. Yeah, it is 4 versus 3 days. But at the same time, we also, people were here Tuesday and Wednesday setting up, so you can get hours beforehand and
also
after.
Shift weighting. Different shifts are worth different weights. So if you do a lot, like we have a higher need for overnight shifts to try and be 24 hours because a lot of our event spaces that you may have noticed this year weren't 24 hours due to staffing constraints. And so, the hours that you may want may just be less ideal if you want to hit that hour mark, the hour requirement that you're looking for. But I think one of the things that we want to do, or what we're trying to do, like this year, is offer day 0 content so that there is also more time around the start of the event to do more things or run later into the day to kind of extend that as well. Having a lot of planned content for Thursdays is still pretty difficult for us with the amount of money that we have in our budget and everything like that. We're still a little bit of ways away from creating to make this a 4-day event like Super is. But
I do think the other thing is that, and I think it's a little unique to this area, is that I'm not saying that we're better than everyone, but we do treat our volunteers very well, and that we feed them so that a lot of the expenditures that volunteering at other places they don't have. So like you don't have to leave. You can eat, get your meals here if you're staffing hours and that type of stuff. So we're trying to balance being able to show them that we care about them and we want to treat them well with, fairness and the amount.
Yeah. I'm sorry that some hours are less ideal, but I hope you understand the position we're in. Yeah. Okay. You, sir.
Hi, I'm John. I was wondering if we could have an extra more bigger event. Just because, I was here by myself for most of the weekend, and my friend was over here looking for my 1 day. It's a bit hard to meet new people, so
Some more events to be. So, if I'm clear, you're asking about like having more activities where you can meet people and like meet and greet and that type of thing.
Sure, that's a good suggestion.
I think one of the things that they do at Super is kind of have like, here, if you're here for your first Super, this is, and it's actually a lot of times part of the opening ceremony. Like, how to help people out. So I think that could be very useful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we, maybe take for granted, being us as staffers that know each other. That's a fair point. I'll share a quick story. My first MAGFest was in 2016 over on the East Coast, and I went by myself, so I flew across the country to go because I just wanted to hang out with all these other nerdy people that I didn't know, but I loved what they were about. And I had a shift at like midnight, but I flew in at like 9, and so I checked into the hotel and kind of found my way around, and I had like an hour to kill. And so like I just grabbed a drink at the bar, and these people at a neighboring table just kind of reached out and said, "Hey, are you here by yourself?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's my first time." It's like, "Oh, come sit with us." And so like I got to hang out with them. I intentionally staffed my first year and volunteered so that I could force myself to meet people. Not saying that's what you have to do. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. But what ended up happening is I met people on my first shift that also was their first time staffing and first time attending, and we traded phone numbers, and I got to hang out with them throughout the rest of the weekend, which was really exciting. So I think, a lot is also very circumstantial, and I encourage all of you as MAGFest attendees to always reach out to people and be friendly and be kind to one another. And not saying that you haven't, a lot of you obviously have.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to scold you and say that's what you need to do.
One of the things that we hear repeatedly over about MAGFest is community, especially with our larger event. People feel a part of a community at it because it is a very unique event. And while I'm not saying there's not a community here, I think because it's just a smaller event, but also it hasn't been here that long and it hasn't been in a consistent space. So having people feel like it's also their space and they can be a part of it and they can experiment without us necessarily telling they can do. I don't know if people have been to Super, but there are things that attendees have just done and they have become stuff. Like every year there's a shrimp parade, like of people with inflatable shrimp costumes, and it has nothing to do with us, but it's there every year and we are always super excited to see it. And people have made shrines to Danny DeVito, which are now actually a thing for us. So when people donate to the shrine, it goes to charity. There's just so many things that the weird quirkiness hasn't made it here because I think the community hasn't really started to feel as comfortable as they do and haven't felt, and that's what I'm really hoping will happen here. Because there's I could go on and on about Super because that's my home, but there's just so much uniqueness, and I get overwhelmed in crowds. So MAGWest has been wonderful for me because I love being able to, like she said, see people that you saw earlier. I was at Reg, so I saw people who I checked in and later on was able to wave to them. That's really cool, and I'm hoping that we can continue to keep that going and we can get the wacky community aspect that we have on the East Coast. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We've talked about rearranging registration there so it's not open.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, just kind of adding on to that. I think there's definitely magic in like organic feeling. That being said, there could be some room of just kind of having like a little bit like maybe there's like a space just for like first time MAGFest or MAGFest like just to come like they're intentionally there too.
Sure.
So they're not just trying to like so that way if we see somebody there, they're like, oh, they want to mingle, they want to socialize, and somebody
A singles mix? Or no, I'm just kidding.
No, meet your MAGWest buddy.
No, no.
yeah, or something, or maybe even just like maybe like 20 minutes of just like just gonna meet over here with around this bar area, the lounge area, we're just gonna hang out. Maybe there's some sort of facilitator. I don't want to meet.
Yeah, I understand totally what you're saying because at Super we end up having a lot of those where people are like, let's just have a Kigu wearing meetup, and we meet up at this location, and people just sit around in Kigus and enjoy it. There was one where they met up and went and screamed at the Ferris wheel in the National Harbor. Actually, I think they toasted to it, then screamed at it.
Yeah.
So-
Are you new to MAGWest? Come scream.
yeah.
Always screaming. Sure.
And I do think that a lot of the things at Super, how they start is on social media, and people, and I know that there is there a MAGWest 21 plus, do you know? Or
No,
there's a lot, there are fan groups and stuff on, like, so there's a MAGFest 21 plus, there's a lot of people that just make friends on that, and that's how it continues the community out. And those are not pages run by us. And I'm not saying go out and make social media pages, but if you want to and you feel like that can help, like...
Our Discord is very active, and there's, MAGWest has got a section as well as you can kind of mix up with the general MAGFest crowd. It kind of ramps up towards the event, and also, I think that it comes to a point where we, in terms of those social interactions, we rely on the attendees more to kind of start their own conversations, which, if you want to pop in and say hi on the Discord, absolutely do so. And maybe some people will be receptive to that. I think that'd be great. Thank you. Yes.
Well, I guess I have two things.
Mhm.
For me personally, the electronic music thing, and I think having kind of not completely niche, but just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Enter our multi-year discussion with the hotel to make a change to
I was
that.
going to say, we can't even get paid to let us park there.
Right.
Yeah, they don't, we've offered, they don't
There are a lot of things
want,
that make things challenging. Number one, there are certain fees associated with getting any outside vendors in here to serve food. And as a smaller event, we don't have the cash for. And so it becomes a dance with any interested parties. Like, we've had food trucks reach out to us to try and make that a thing. And then we're like, well, we can't shoulder the full fee of what it's going to cost to get you to come out here to make everything okay with the venue. We can talk about maybe splitting that cost, or maybe you guys cover it, whatever. And then they stop responding. So I love Casino Matrix personally. I've had many a good evening there.
$20 prime rib.
I know. And
Tonight, I think it's tonight. Or
I think
was it yesterday?
Sunday is
Yeah.
tonight. I think it's
Yeah,
tonight.
so $20 prime rib.
Yeah, across the street at Casino Matrix. I reached out to Casino Matrix to try and get hey, how about you let anyone with a badge get a discount, and then we can give you a bunch of like promo and signage and stuff. And then I followed up 4 times, including once with a picture of all of us staff at Casino Matrix's bar from last year, all smiling and like giving a thumbs up, and no response. So it is frustrating.
Yeah.
And I definitely understand the pain point of food options here. And we
DoorDash certainly got their money this weekend.
Yeah, maybe then it becomes, let's start a conversation with DoorDash and have anyone delivering food to this address gets 15% off or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something to consider. But I do appreciate the feedback, and it's definitely a pain point that we've all tried to work on. Also, parking. I don't know that you specifically mentioned parking, but given that the businesses are closed, this venue used to have an arrangement with that parking lot at least, where they would let us go there for overflow. The first year we came to this venue, they killed that deal right after we'd already signed a contract. So it was unfortunate. And we're always asking if they can maybe reinitiate that contract. This year we tried a little more covert tactic because we know some people that work in some of the offices nearby. And we asked, like, hey, do you think anyone would mind if we parked there? And they were like, oh, our company doesn't care for sure. Talk to building management. So we talked to building management, and they're like, you definitely can't park here. That's ridiculous. You cannot be here. I'm more of the mindset, and this is unofficially and off the record, that like if 100 people park there, they're not going to tow all 100. Like,
and that was really the case because people came to registration saying the parking lot's full, and we were like, we're not telling you to park there, but we are also telling you there are no other places to park.
I made a page on the website saying we're not responsible if you happen to park at this location. So we've got our bases covered. But yeah, that's also another pain point. What I want is like the hot dog mafia from downtown San Jose to just like go on the sidewalk, right? Like they don't own the sidewalk. Come on. No. So we're trying to get creative, but so far have had very few leads. But I can definitely appreciate that.
So if y'all know anybody that can help us out.
Yeah. It's just, or who wants to pay, I think the fee is like a $1,500 fee per vendor. Per vendor is the thing that kicks, like, fine, it's fine. Yeah, that's kind of the situation we're in when we're here. But thank you again.
I want to ask this, did anybody go to Trinket Trade? Did you guys hear about it? Yeah, I was going to say that's an example of something that was basically started by like an attendee who eventually became a staffer, and it's become a huge thing. And we support it because it helps build community, and it's a lot of fun because you can get a lot of cool stuff.
Same thing with Makerspace also on the East Coast.
Makerspace.
And so this year, we had
escape room when we had it.
Yeah, escape room when we had it, laser tag, whatever. All sorts of things. We also had a brief series for Games on Film where we talked about that for a while.
That's been a while since we had that, but it was really cool.
But yeah, all of these, so many ideas. If we could, number one, get enthusiastic people to take care of it for us, and two, if we had the space. So that's not to say also that like if you want to do a small like series of Games on Film and do like a critique of the original Super Mario Bros. Movie, followed by a critique of the original Mortal Kombat movie, right? And that can just be 2 different nights. Like, here's a nice late night, midnight showing of whatever. And that's something you're interested in running, like, that's not a bad idea.
Or if you're interested in orchestrating meetups or different things like that, reach out and we can make it official.
Yeah.
Again, we encourage that.
Yeah. Because as I said, we're a staff of about I think our total like badge print for staff badges was 165.
And at least half of those didn't get picked up.
Yeah, 50 of those were dedicated to in case we need them. And then the rest are like staffers that we knew might be coming. And then half of them, were people who actually came.
There's like a
so we are stretched thinner in certain areas. And some areas obviously like have no problem. Like Tech Ops is very healthily staffed. and a lot of places like that. But we always encourage people to come help us out, because running an event takes a lot of work, especially
And
running
it's fun.
and it is fun.
It really is fun.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, I'm looking at this from a perspective where, like, this is a second job to me that I don't get paid for. And so it's, yeah, for you too. But it is fun. Like, once we are here and in the thick of it, like, it is a lot of fun. And it's, again, as you heard me say at opening ceremony, so rewarding to see everyone going around. In 2019, there was a video of, like, some people who had met and were playing, I think, Suteki Dane, just downstairs in the hallway, and, like, they had just met at this event and they were playing together, and that was, like, so heartwarming to me. It's like, I did that, but obviously I have no musical acumen and I could never do that, so it's nice that I could live vicariously through them. Anyway, we are over time, and that means that, unfortunately, all things must eventually come to an end. And so I thank you all for coming to MAGWest 2023. And please come back and see us next year. Stay tuned on our social media accounts and everything. Come out and see us at other promo events. We do, like I said, other events and other conventions.
Come east.
Come east and come to Super MAGFest. It is an amazing experience that will have you hooked on what we can do when we work together. So great. So thank you all. Thank you.
Just pulling it.